I'm hoping that other artillerists will come, they'll rage at my video, leave me comments about why I'm stupid, and hopefully you'll correct me and then I'll learn from it. Because I can't find any information out there that's correct. So if you are watching this and you're like, yeah, this is not what you do, or you're 100% wrong, or you're misleading people, leave me a comment and correct me. Okay, just try not to be super mean about it. But that's predominantly why I'm doing this. If you share a thought on the internet, you will be corrected. Hey, MBPDota. Hi, YouTubes. So I am not claiming to be the authority on artillerists, but when you look up artillerist guides, I have one of the only guides up on Twitch is about tier 3 4 Barrage Artillerist. Outside of that, there's just like gameplay footage of people doing full Ark Passive, and then there's some stuff that's not in English that I tried to learn from, and it was hard to learn from. So I've just been piecing together a no shield artillerist build because it does the most damage. It's also the most risky to play, which I already get enough grief about dying on this character, and I'm probably going to get more, but at least while I'm alive, I'm going to do more damage than people that are equally geared, because it's a crazy amount of damage that you do with this build. So that's what we're going to go through. So here we go. There's no shield, which is crazy, but you do so much extra damage. First thing is forward barrage. You're going load, quick prep, and dancing explosion. You can go with the wealth rune that is recommended in a lot of the builds, but you can also go poison and bleed, which is extra damage. And because you have all these you have an extra damage ability, you don't need as much wealth in your runes because of it. And you'll find out more of that in a second. As a result, you could do bleed and poison, which stack. Sub a turret, you go armor destruction, enhanced turret, and then you can go big pack if you would like extra turrets, or if you want even more damage, you go laser turret and do even more damage. Air raid, you're going with a gale wind in it. You could also put the bleed from this in this, but air raid it's a little slower to cast. So I found that the gale wind makes this air raid and then homing barrage back to back feel a lot better. So that's why I'm doing gale wind. It's guiding enhancement, vital point, bombardment. You have to have crit on your tripods because you don't have any crit in your Ark passive, really. You have some crit, but not a lot. You definitely choose tripods that have crit. And then power bomb. Actually, that was homing barrage. Air raid is attack speed, 60% crit, lightning barrage, and the big one. Homing barrage, no rune, guiding enhancement, vital point, bombardment for the crit, and power bomb. And then napalm, I was putting the legendary wealth in because you get a big burst chunk of meter from it, and then you get ongoing little bits from the burn. This is the stagger buff that gives everybody, not just your party, but everybody, all 8 people get 20% stagger bonus for 4 seconds, the fierce heat, and then chain explosion. Gravity explosion, I put a wealth, again, do the crit rate, sweeping gravity, planetary gravity. Flamethrower, you go with the load, which is a high priority tripod to get if you don't have level 5. Attack range, you can go shield and you can go ignore collusion. This giving you this movement speed is kind of cool. And then if you do want an actual shield, you can. It doesn't give you push immunity, but it does give you a shield. But I prefer the attack range. And then Azure Flame. The reason you go Gravity Explosion 14 is it actually does a good chunk of damage. Gravity Explosion technically does the second most damage in these skills. So Homing Barrage does number 1, Gravity Explosion is number 2, Air Raid number 3, and then Pressurized Heat Bomb is number 4. For Pressurized Heat Bomb, you go Mobile Barrage because you need some mobility, especially since you don't have a shield. Serial Barrage, and then Fatal Barrage again, giving you extra crit rate. And then I put Legendary Gale Wind in this because it made it a lot easier to pull off both the dash and the follow-up damage, because you have to do like a little combo attack with it. You can also redirect that damage. So like if you go forward and then the boss moves left, you can actually point your mouse that way and it'll follow your mouse. So you can like go like that. And then the last rune is a legendary Gale Wind in Barrage Focus Fire. This is the highest damage ability you have in your wheelchair, and it does take a second to get off. And then the energy cannon got reduced in the duration, so you don't need a rune in it anymore. So that's what we've got. And the runes you can kind of play with based on your own playstyle preferences, but pretty good so far. I'm enjoying it. I enjoy this setup. I've been trying it out in Guardian raids and stuff. This week I'm going to try it out in actual raids. So then Engravings, we've got Adrenaline, Grudge, Keen Blunt, All Out Attack, and Crystal. From the Korean guide that I looked at, he shared that a 9/7 where the 9 is All Out Attack was very good because you get 5.25% extra holding and casting skill damage, which is for your Barrage wheelchair abilities versus 3% that you get from other means. So I'm working on getting an All Out Attack, Crystal, Adrenaline, Grudge, or Keen Blunt Stone, and I haven't caught one of those yet. So that's what I'm working on next. And then gem wise, this is a 5 damage gem setup. So you're doing your priority gem is your Barrage skill. This is your big gem. If you can, you get a tier 4 level 10 gem in this, and then everything else can be whatever. And then Homing Barrage is your next one, and you're doing both damage and cooldown reduction. Gravity Explosion is your next priority. You're doing both. Forward Barrage, you're doing just cooldown. Flamethrower, just cooldown. And your Flamethrower cooldown and your Gravity Explosion cooldown should be the same level, because these end up coming off cooldown at the same time, and you want to use them kind of back to back for meter generation. Air Raid, you're doing both. And so for damage, you're doing Homing Barrage, Gravity Explosion, Air Raid, and then Heat Bomb. And the Heat Bomb, you're doing both as well. And that's your gems. All good. There's probably a rotation, but this is something that I couldn't find, and maybe somebody can help out with. But I've been pairing Air Raid and Homing Barrage together. While these are up in the air, you can also put a turret down. So usually that's what I kind of do from playing Fire Barrage long ago, is you're doing your 2 delayed skills, put a turret down, and then you can pop your forward barrage, so that way you're getting your bleed and your poison off at the same time. So these 2 in the air, a turret, forward barrage, napalm, and then you can either do Gravity Explosion Flamethrower or your pressurized heat bomb. You could also just do all the damage abilities all in a row. What you'll find is there will be an extra ability that you won't need to cast unless you want to before you get in your wheelchair. The other things, you can technically do heavy turret, but you get a double wheelchair with missile barrage, so I would stick with missile barrage unless you really love heavy turret. Heavy turret technically does more damage than missile barrage, especially when you get the hyper. The hyper for this is like a big robot that's like super cool and comes down, so it's kind of up to you if you want to do that. And then obviously you're doing Barrage Steel Rain, which is your T skill that you can only use in your wheelchair. So the Ark Passive is specialization, crit, and then the guides that I saw were showing 3 in limit break, but when I didn't have 8% crit from the Keen Sense, it felt really bad, and the stats on the log were also missing about 8 to 10% crit from them, and I want to make sure that I'm critting everything when I get into the wheelchair at least. So like I base the crit rate of my class on wheelchair abilities and not anything else, because the majority of your damage comes from your wheelchair. So just make sure that you're near 100% crit on your wheelchair abilities, and then everything else is just whatever. So that's kind of how I feel about it. You're doing Destruction Charger and then Standing Striker. Soon we're gonna have a change to all of these. You may end up getting the opportunity to do infighting, and that may be the route to go, because they're buffing infighting, and since you don't have a shield, that might be a possibility. I don't know. We'll see. For the Enlightenment, going Barrage Enhancement, Barrage Charge, Barrage Output, and then I personally did not like the repositioning system. So you can either do that or you can do Swiftness Barrage. I really don't think it matters in terms of damage, but I really thought this was awkward whenever I would cast the wheelchair. The problem is you're facing the wrong direction typically, depending on where you reposition. So you have to turn your wheelchair around to do damage. And it just felt very jarring because there was no sound, there's no animation to it. You just teleport instantly. It's kind of weird. So I put 2 points in Swiftness Barrage, and then since I did 1 Brel normal, I was able to upgrade this to get an extra point. And I put that in Maintain Firepower, which I think is very good because you get an extra 30% when this reaches level 3, increases your damage to foe by 10, 20, and 30%. And this resets the firepower meter duration every time you cast a skill. So I think this maintains that 30% extra damage for you for longer, which is why I put 1 point here. I think that's better. I could be wrong. This is another one of those things where like people would be like, yeah, there's no point, just put a 3rd point in Swiftness Barrage until you get Summon ACT. I'm gonna try to get him to 1680. It'll probably take me 2 weeks to get there since I'm free to play, and I'm trying to get the Summon ACT skill because I think that would be really cool. And then your leap is gonna be these two: Unleash Power and Release Potential. And then I believe you'll go Improved Payload. Steel Rain changes to casting mode. It'll be impacted by the all-out attack because it's a holding and casting skill. Getting your stone to 9-7 or even just 7-7 where you got all-out attack, it does impact this improved payload then. So I'm going to be going with that, and we'll see how it feels when it's in casting mode. I don't know how that's going to feel, but I'm assuming I'm going to go with this when I get this unlocked. There you go. If you're wondering what to do in Chaos Dungeons, I actually run Firepower build in Chaos. So I do Firepower on the Ark Passive. This is the same pretty much for every single character, and then this is the same for pretty much every character. I only went Adrenaline because I have a Adrenaline Stone, but you would sub that out for like Curse Stall or Stabilized or whichever. That's funny. It's go time. Coco Japid, thank you for subscribing on YouTube, man. I believe I was talking to you in chat there. Minimum 619, thanks for following. And thanks for following, guys. Just YouTube. Subscribed on YouTube. Look at you guys go. The benefits of talking and chat with people while you're getting jailed together.